those people.
Hello, hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 2023 Racing Programs Q&A session. I'm Jenny. I'm the club manager of the club. And I've been here for 11 years, going on 12. And I've been sailing most of my life and have done some racing programs here myself with Steve. It's been really great to see the program grow, and we're excited to see so many new people and returning racers. This is Steve Summers, a race coach.
Yeah, hi, I'm Steve. I've been here since 2010, so going on 14 years. And we've been in improving the racing program during that time. I'm also ASA sailing instructor evaluator, and try and keep myself busy most of the time by being on the water. That's me.
Yeah. So we offer a bunch of different programs here at the club, a lot having to do with like continuing education with sailing, and like flotillas and group sails for those who like cruising. Of course, our ASA sailing lessons. We also do clinics and seminars that are geared towards racing and safety and refresher courses, docking, all sorts of different things here. So there's lots of options to continue learning. And of course, the racing programs themselves. And Steve and I have been working on those together for, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years, 6 or 7 years. And every year it just gets bigger and bigger, and it's really awesome to see. Yeah, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I'll talk about the specific race programs. So there are different levels of racers. There are people who just finished their 101 and come in and want to get some more experience. And then there are people who've, done a bit more and want to be skipper. And then there are some people who get really competitive and want to do some of the big regattas and the overnight races. And ultimately, at the end of the scale there, we've got Swiftshore, which we also offer the ASA 106 course for that because it's overnight with spinnakers. And yeah, we go up there for 5 days and we get a lot out of it. So yeah, plenty of stuff. The types of racing we do go from Monday nights, which is beer can racing with Ballard Cup, Wednesday night, which is round CYC and round the buoys, and then there are weekend regattas, which is just an extension of round the buoys, and that would lead you up to doing the big event there is Race Week up in Anacortes in the end of June. And there's some regattas in the fall, Puget Sound Sailing Championships and Grand Prix. And then there's the weekend regattas, which start out all races, long distance races, Center Sound Series, Tri Island Series, and they all culminate in two sort of Swiftshore. And at the end of the year, we have round the county up in the San Juan Islands. So depending on the type of racing you like to do or the type of sailing you like to do, there's plenty of options out there.
Great. Well, kind of get started. We'll lay some ground rules of engagement for the Q&A. So we'll have everyone remain muted for the duration of the session. And for questions, just post them in the chat and we'll answer them as best we can in order. We have about an hour, an hour and 15, hour and 10 now to go through all the questions. If we don't get to all the questions, we'll review the chat after and post it on the member resources page tomorrow for everybody with a recording. Let's see. And then I guess another thing we kind of wanted to talk about is what participants need to do in order to sign up for racing. So one important thing is, of course, to fill out the racer interest form. And then the next one would be to sign the 2023 racer waiver. Even if you've already signed a racer waiver before, we'll need you to do the one that's for this year too. Additionally, make sure to submit your COVID vaccination. We've noticed some of the forms have come in without them. So we do require that for all racing and pre-racing activities. So those would be the first things to do to get started with the program. So yeah, ready for questions. Looks like one is here. So Livy says, you mentioned a lot of different types of racing. If we're brand new to racing, what do you recommend doing to figure out what kind of racing we like? I'll let you go for that one. Okay. It looks like you have an answer for that.
So the first thing is Ballard Cup is the easiest entry level. We offer J80s and J105s for those, so you can go out with a group of people and learn basic boat handling. And then after that, you'd want to look at some of the member programs that we have in the summer, the member run programs, because they're shorter races. There are some long distance races in there, sort of not just around the buoys, but they go sort of up towards Edmonds and places. So you do get a little bit feel for sailing on longer legs rather than just going around in triangles. Yeah, so that's it. And then to get into the weekend races, the long distance races usually requires you to have completed a series. One thing we did this year that's a little different. We wrote up a thing of race experience levels, which was more to guide people into the right areas. So if you look through that, it'll give you an idea of where to go. The other thing you can do is, as a substitute racer, you can sign up for any of the races, and if there's a spot available, doesn't matter what your experience is. If we have a spot available, then adding one more person means whether the race goes or not, you'll get to go out and get that experience in a bigger race. So
Something is, I think, a great opportunity for people that are beginning, just because it gives you the experience to try different boats and try different crew members and that kind of stuff. So that makes it a little bit easier, less pressure. Yeah. Yeah.
So do I have to decide how many race series I want to sign up for now, or can I sign up for one series and then add more later? You can redo your form anytime, even if, sometimes people do a series and then add dates for substituting in other races, but work schedules change all the time. So unless you retire and commit to full-time racing, things are going to change, right? So what we ask is that once you've filled your form out, if you need to change it at any time, you can change it, but just send us an email so that we know you changed it, so we can go in and make sure we add those dates. The other thing is you can always contact Ian at the front desk and let him know if things change short term, so that we can, again, get that on we have a database that has everything on there. So we all go to one document to make sure that it's all, we're all communicating the same way. We just need to make sure that it's updated. Okay, but you can sign up for one series, you can sign up for one race, you can sign up for a whole series of races. Just as and when you know what's available to you, just let us know, we'll put you in there and we'll try and get you on a boat.
Yeah. Also, if let's say you were to race in the first series, generally what we'll do is before we go and look for people that said that they're available in series 2, we'll make sure that if your team can all stay together for the next series, we're going to definitely keep you together if you're all happy together, right?
Yep.
So we ask that first before we go and reach out to other people to place people on teams. Okay, so next question, do you need COVID vax if the club already has it on hand previously? We'll go through the forms and see if see whose we have. If we don't have it, then we'll let you know. We'll contact you directly. Okay. Francisco.
Let me know if sharing some of the experiences in the races might be helpful. The answer to that is yes. If any of you,
Yeah, if any of you want to share.
If any of you who have been racing in the program before and you think it's helpful to share your experiences, you can share them in the chat. I think Francisco, we just turned you on. So if you want to say anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm trying to cook dinner at the same time, so it's a little bit challenging. But yeah, I mean, I encourage anyone to join. I've it's been great to be able to participate in like the racing program at the Seattle Sailing Club. I've sailed with Steve on a number of races, from like the weekly Wednesday night races, the long ones, and Swiftsure. I haven't done the race week yet, which is, as many describe, I think Steve describes it as well as like the summer camp for adults, which is, it's something that I'm missing. Maybe this year I'll be able to go a couple of days, but yeah, I encourage anyone to. I think it's a great group of people, and everybody's like very encouraging, and but we're still competitive. So
There's also less competitive routes too. Yeah.
I think it's healthy competition. I would
Yeah,
say,
exactly. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you, Francisco. Okay. Which one? So Mike, yeah. Oh, yeah. So Terry asked, how do we know if the vaccination record is already on file? We'll let you know. Thanks, Mike. Mike says that Ballard Cup is chill and a blast. I think that's a really good place for people to start too.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so Phil asked, I really enjoyed the Monday night series. I'd kind of like to do the first and third series rather than all three series. Is there a first come, first serve type approach to filling out those boats, or are there other factors that are considered? So it is kind of a first come, first serve. Like if a team wants to race, or if we can keep a team together for all three series, that's ideal. It's really good for everybody on the team. But we frequently have people that are only able to do 1 and 3 or just series 2 or those kinds of things. And we can usually find them a spot, but we might not be able to find them a spot on the same boat for both of those series if they're separate. So that would be like if they don't do the second series. What are the requirements for Swiftsure up to ASA 106?
So the basic requirements for doing a 106 is to have your 104 and to have done the coastal navigation class 105. So have that certification. And then for the racing part of Swiftsure that you have participated in, I think I said either a Wednesday night series or one of the long distance, like the Center Sound or Tri-Island series, or because it requires it's an endurance race, so it's not a place you go to learn racing. It's a place you go to learn to test endurance racing. If that answers your question.
Another part of that is safety at sea training is always a helpful thing to get as well but it's not at all required. Right. Well,
there's a 1-day online safety at sea that we're going to recommend everybody who does Swiftsure this year takes. And once we've got sorted crews out for that, they'll get sent the information to sign up for that. That's not in the information. That's something I just figured out today.
I'm like, I didn't know. Learn something new.
Yeah.
All right. Is there Chris asked, is there an additional cost for the preseason practices? No, there is not an additional price, but you would have to be signed up for a series or going to be racing in a series. Andrea is asking, how popular are the entry-level races and how likely is it we wouldn't find a spot as a complete beginner? Yeah, I don't either. I think we're pretty good at getting everyone on a boat almost as much as they'd like to be honest. Of course, with demand and growth and that kind of thing, there could be issues, but I think we'd be able to get everybody on a boat for at least a few races.
Yeah.
At least.
And if you can't commit to a full series right off the bat, you can get on as a substitute, and almost all substitutes last year got boat rides and then
multiple times
and then signed up for a series right after that.
Yeah, so it's pretty common. Chris says he wishes he could retire and commit to sailing all the time. Don't we all? Steve. There, yeah.
So, Sebastian says there are practice sessions planned. Is it recommended to join one or all of them? If you're signed up for a team, I recommend you join as many as you can get out to, because that's really where you get to know your crewmates. And one of the requirements this year is that you have done a crew overboard practice as part of one of those practice sessions. And really everybody, to do that, everybody has to, the whole crew has to be on the boat for that to qualify. Again, it's not like mandatory if you can't make it because of work, but really the best way to get set up for the season is to show up for all those races.
Okay, so
Yeah,
so Nick Myers asking or says a prior season racing is a tough requirement. Can we race qualify based on experience or a sailing log?
yeah. If you send a resume in, if we have your resume and we know what your experience is, then we can put you in the appropriate level that you need to. These are the requirements I've laid out is so that people coming in can see where they go. For you, you might fit in at a higher level if you have prior racing experience or a bunch of prior sailing experience. So you don't start out at the bottom, you start out where your level of experience is. Send us a resume and then we can make sure you get in the right spot.
Brian asks, I have no race experience and a 104 level sailing training. Wednesday evening in spring is best for me. Is it reasonable for me to sign up for one Wednesday series? I'll let you answer that one.
That's going to depend on, yes, the initial answer to that is yes, it is. But it's going to depend on how many people sign up and how many boats we can put out. There'll be at least one, I think right now there'll be a minimum of one coach boat and one member run boat and maybe 2 member run boats if we have enough people. But that requires us having, the limitation there is not the number of people, it becomes a number of actually qualified skippers we have to put boats out. Yeah.
It says, I did all Monday series and subbed on Wednesdays. Also, many of the weekend races, all are very different experiences. So yeah, there's lots of different options, and really I feel like there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
Matt asked if there are any opportunities for guests or non-members. Unfortunately, no, we don't have opportunities for guests or non-members. Although the one program that's possible would be Run Your Own Boat program, but that's all set up by a member. So the member is skippering, and then they go out and they choose their crew, and the crew can be whoever they want it to be.
Yeah. The only kind of caveat with that is that the people who are doing Run Your Own Boat have to do it like for Ballot Cup, all 3 series, or Wednesdays, all 4 series. Because we have to commit the boat to the whole season of racing. It's not just show up and do 1 race or 1 series. Yeah.
I would jump in and say looking for SailFest later in the year is a great opportunity to get people who may not be members of the club involved with some fun races. That's a great event.
Yeah, thanks, Travis. That's right. It's a free event that we do on Friday nights in August, and it's a fun race. So it's not competitive, though. There are some folks who like to make it competitive. Travis, yeah, but he also has fun too. And yeah, it's a great opportunity to meet other people in the community. It's a nice way to spend a Friday night. Yeah, pretty laid back. Okay, Oh. Oh yeah, Janice says, I've raced a Ballard Cup, which was very fun, and COICC on Wednesdays with Steve, Pink Boat, Regatta, Race Week. I've been out for a year and I hope to get back in. Great race programs. Thank you, Janice. We are excited to have you back too.
So Nick asks how will you handle subs? What if a person doesn't know their full schedule but wants to substitute and race? I sort of covered this a little earlier, that we have a database, and for each race and each crew, there will be a sub list. So let's say somebody signs up for six races of a Ballard Cup series, and then they find out their boss wants them to stay for a meeting till 6 o'clock and they can't make the race. So they will let us know, and then we'll go to the sub list and just go down the list and call people till we get someone. If you are a sub, you want to know how long it's going to take you to get here if it's a last minute sub. But for crews, what we tell them is we need 48 hours notice. So if you're racing on Wednesdays, we need to know on Monday that you need a sub. And if you're racing on Mondays, we need to know before the weekend that you need a sub, so we can have time to get somebody in.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, I apologize. As a follow-up question, does that mean fill out the form for all races, but don't pick dates?
You have to put your sub. You say it gives you a choice of team racer or substitute racer. So you pick substitute racer, and then you put in the dates that you are available to substitute. And then we add you to the form, and so then you're on that contact list for the J80 or the J105 on a Monday or a Wednesday, whatever it is. Right?
Yeah. And oftentimes we do know of subs ahead of time, like pretty regularly. It's rather uncommon for us to get a last minute need. Yeah, it doesn't happen too often. Yes. Okay, so Terry said there's a safety at C class on Bainbridge March 5th. Okay, yeah, so those two classes I believe are full.
They're both full.
Yeah. At the moment.
Go on the wait list.
Well, and I was going to say, so Margaret just sent out an email saying that only half the people in the Bainbridge group have done their pre-work because there's 15 hours of pre-work. So maybe get on the wait list. They
Yeah,
don't
good
charge
idea.
you until you get on the wait list. So it's something to think about.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. Okay. Justin says, asks how many practices are held per series? Are each of the preseason practices done, or is it more like one per boat team? So we just do the 4 practices in the beginning of the of series 1. So those are the 4 practices. And then I'm a little confused about are each of the preseason practices done, or is it more like one per boat?
So for the second and third series, once people know what their crews are in, because most people have already been racing, there's not really the same need to get people out practicing as there is at the beginning of the season. But once you know you're in your teams, you can take a bow down on another night that's not Monday and practice.
Yeah.
We'll let you do that.
Yeah, about once a week.
Well,
Yeah.
the week
Yes.
before
The series, yeah.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yeah.
And the other thing I've told my crew on Wednesdays, that you're members, right? And you can just sign a bow down anytime and go out with your crew members and practice.
Mhm.
That doesn't require us to organize that.
Mhm.
You just have to get your crew together and go out and book a boat and go practice.
So Michael asks, do you recommend doing Monday races before doing Wednesday races if you've never competitively raced before? Yes.
I would say yes, from an experience standpoint, but yes, because you're about 5 times more likely to get on a boat on a Monday than a Wednesday. Yeah. Sometimes the challenge is that Wednesday nights the people can get away from work and Monday night is not. So if that's the case, still sign up. We'll try and fit you in.
Then Matthew asks, if a couple of us are new to racing and would like to be on the same team, is that possible? That is possible. Yes. So on the form, there's an option where you can fill in the names of the people you want to race with. And we'll do the best that we can to organize the team in the way that where all of you can be together. All right. Janice says, I'm in New York until April, wouldn't be able to do preseason practices. I think that should be, I mean, that's
okay.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Because Janice has raced here a lot before, so that's just a question of getting to know your team. So the key differences between a member-run boat and a coach-run boat is a coach has a paid instructor who has racing experience, who is going to allow you to be in positions and get individual coaching and team coaching in the race. A member-run boat is somebody who's most likely come through the program, been on a coach boat before, and has worked their way through to get checked off to skipper a boat. And so they're an experienced racer within the club, and they are deemed a competent skipper. They can take you out and get you around the race course. And yeah, so that's, the coaching program is there to elevate people's levels. So we basically are creating skippers to run the member-run programs. That's kind of how it works.
Phil says, how many Spinnaker classes will be offered this season? We recently actually did an instructor training to get more instructors trained to teach the class. So we are planning to add more to the schedule. I know they fill up pretty quickly. So we do plan to add more. It's just a matter of getting them on there. And we'll let the racers know when that happens too. We'll send out an email.
We have another clinic for more instructors, and then so if you need to get on that, we know from the list, so we'll be trying to get people into classes and add more of them as we get into the season. There's at least one Spinnaker class every month through August. We're hoping to have 2 a month if we can get enough the boats and instructors and people lined up.
So we asked, can you briefly discuss the various regattas that are planned? What type of boats are used for those?
I'd say most of the regattas are on the 105s. So for the J105, there are sort of 2 major competitions. There's the J105 Fleet 20 Championship. So they pick out 9 races a year, and 6 of those count towards the championship. And most of those are in like the top, there's a bunch of races that count towards like the top 25 races in Puget Sound. And then besides those races, there's a bunch of other regattas that are run by Ballard and Shoal Bay and Edmonds. So there's a bunch of other races that don't count towards those major trophies, if you like. And so they tend to be the ones that are the member run skippers. So if it's a fleet championship, if it's a higher level championship regatta, then there'll be a coach on board because it's sort of required by the class. And then, yeah, the other ones we've just kind of, we've really tried to offer more member run programs this year. Other Steve is running a J80 Taj Mahal, and we think we're going to have a member run program for 80s on Wednesdays this year. We've done it once or twice in the past, but it's just, those things depend on having a skipper and then having the demand. And there's a possibility that we might I think we're going to have an 80 maybe at race week as well. So for people who are more into the J80 scene and they want to get in, they want to work up the ladder a little bit, I think there's going to be more opportunity for that this year.
Jason asks, for Swiftsure, would signing up to crew in CYC Wednesday Spring Series and Center Sound Series that are coming up before it cover the first 2 crew requirements?
Yes.
Yes, they would, yeah. Phil asked, I think, a follow-up question to the Spinnaker courses. We will offer the Spinnaker course. We'll try to get more on the weekends too, so like weekend ones and weekday ones, but yeah, they're all dependent on boat availability for the weekends.
Yeah, it's part of what racing
Especially
season starts.
once racing season starts, exactly. Let's see. Okay, is that? That's. Does anybody else who's raced before want to share their experience? If not, that's totally okay. Um,
Yeah, just to break the ice, I mean, I'd say it was a blast. I don't think I really loved racing that much, but I loved learning how to sail under the sort of crucible of a bunch of people who love racing. Really sort of motivates you to pay attention to what's going on and jump in and lend a hand. So, you know, I really approach it more from a standpoint of wanting to learn more about sailing and being a more confident sailor. The competition side of it is more sort of icing on the cake.
Awesome.
It's kind of bad for you, but a lot of people like that.
A lot of people do it, you know, to even just polish their sailing skills. I know I benefited a lot from that, just learning how to properly trim sails really like improved my sailing experience overall.
Yeah, and this is Chris. I'll plus one to that as well. I think, you know, I raced with a number of coaches. I raced with Steve, I raced with Jason, I raced with Lloyd. I did well, most of the Monday night series was a member skipper, and you learn a lot because every coach has takes a different viewpoint and has different techniques. So you really learn a lot from the different coaches. And yeah, you know, and having the opportunity to actually be on the boat without the coach and then practice some of that stuff when they're not around, right? So I think that was all good. I will say that in last year was my first year racing. I will say the one thing that I realized very quickly is the spring series, the very first series, has the most, I'll say, interesting weather in terms of, you know, we had one race with like 20 knot winds and, you know, you have other races that are, you know, you're barely moving. So from a first time racer and inexperienced sailor perspective, that was probably a little unnerving, but after that, things were pretty good.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. It looks like Mike Cow also shared, and he's on his 3rd season of Monday Races and enjoys the relaxed atmosphere and fun times. It's great for learning regardless of your level. Yeah, and he was on a member skipper team. Yeah, J80. Looks like Sebastian also asked, can we sign up for series later this season if we don't know our schedule? Yes, you can do that. Yeah. Just make sure you fill it out on your racer interest form.
Yeah, you can just go back to this form and refill it out anytime.
I thought there was a raise hand gesture, but I can't find it. I just want to say if anybody here has never raced before, the one of my favorite parts about it, the stuff about becoming a better sailor is absolutely true, but I thought downwind sailing was, oh, it was lovely, but it was kind of boring until I was on a boat with a spinnaker flying, and that was magical. So if you haven't done that before, I promise you it will be a fun experience.
I think that's a good point that Jason brings up, is that in all the classes we teach, because there's a limited amount of time, everybody gets really good and really comfortable at sailing upwind and reaching, but downwind sailing, like, you have to do almost twice as much downwind sailing as upwind sailing to become comfortable. And that's what racing does. It just gives you a lot of downwind experience, which you might not necessarily get otherwise, or it's going to take you a long time to get it.
Chris says Spinnakers rock. Phil says, well, yay to Spinnakers, whatever. And then Mike says, Spinnakers, what could possibly go wrong? Some things.
But that's, being on a boat with an experienced person means you're going to learn how to deal with those situations in a controlled environment.
Great question. Matthew asked, the Spinnaker class isn't a requirement for the Ballard Cup series, but does that mean they won't be used in that series? They will be used on any of the J80s or J105s. We have considered, racing what was it, the J35s?
Yeah, doing a non-flying on a J35C.
Yeah, but you'll know if that would, we'd ask you if you'd be interested in that before.
Yeah,
just putting you on that boat.
Yep. And then most of with Ballard Cup, it's a short, just have to get it up and down. It's a short Spinnaker run. And if you're on with a coach, we're going to make sure that we won't put all the people who have never flown a Spinnaker on the same boat.
Yeah, we do our best to organize the teams as with varying levels of experience with similar goals. Justin asks, how often do people end up in the water in a race?
I don't think anybody's been in the water.
No, not anyone from our boats.
No.
that I've known, at least. Winch handles do, though. And hats, lots of hats. Yeah, hat clips are very important. First goal is to stay on board. Terry asked, so if I want to do a long distance race, I can do that if I send you my resume? Yeah, as long as your resume has the experience needed for the long distance race. Yeah. Yeah. Steve will decide. That's a good thing to bring up. We don't have an exact due date for the forms, but I would suggest getting them in within the next week or so, just so that we'll start planning and organizing teams and sending out emails the last week of February for at least the first series of each series. And then for Center Sound series, we'll start talking to teams and crews next week. Okay. Oh, that's funny. I just answered Brian's question. Lorenzo asks, when are you going to come up with, okay, tentative list for practice and crews or practices and races? Yeah, so we will by the last week of February, and everyone will know where they're going to be by Friday the 2nd, I think it is. Friday the 2nd of March. Yeah. Christina asked if we filled out the form already and decide to redo it later or after tonight, do we send you a heads up? You can, if you edit the form, the one that you already submitted, we actually get notified of that. We get, it says, you know, in the subject line that it's been edited. So you don't have to email us about it, at least not for tonight, but in the future, it helps if you edit it just to like send Ian an email saying, hey, I edited my availability for this race, just so that we know if it's like upcoming, we can get you on there before we make any decisions. Mark asks, do you make all the teams for all the series now, or do you schedule the second and later series closer to when they start? So it sort of depends on each person's availability. So if there are people that are available for all 3 series, we do our best to actually group those people together to begin with, so that there are other boats available for people who are only available for certain series or for less series. So it's kind of we kind of do the organization throughout the racing season. It's not like we do it all right now and that's done. So for the second series, you'll find out about 2 to 3 weeks beforehand, maybe even a month beforehand, if or what team you'll be on or what your options are. Chris asked if we sign up for Ballard Cup, should we sign up for both coached and member skipper teams? If we're newbies, we'd prefer coached, but more than that, we want to make sure we get on a boat.
You can put both on there.
Yeah, put both.
But where it asks you to write stuff down, if you have a priority, write it down. If you are new, we will try and put you on a coach boat first.
Yeah.
And then the most experienced member skipper second.
Yeah. This asks, who else other than SSC are we racing against? That's a great question. I'll let you go on that one. All different types of people.
You can get your head outside the boat. So you can go on different club websites to find out who you're racing against. So if you go on the Sloop Tavern Yacht Club website, they're the folks who run the Ballard Cup. You can just find Ballard Cup 1, go on there and look at registered boats. And you're going to find anywhere from 60 to 80 boats have registered in all sorts of different classes. So there's a mixture of boats. There's boats that have non-flying sails, which means they're not flying spinnakers. And typically the way things work on a Monday night is that they send off the slowest boats first and the fastest boats last. There's usually about 9 classes, which means if you're in the middle, when you get to the mark, you're going to have a lot of little boats in front of you and a lot of big boats behind you. So it can get a little busy. You learn the rules, and yeah, so you'll see a lot of other races out there. You'll see all kinds of experience out there. You'll see some of the, like the 105s race, you get there might be as many as 10 or 12 of those on a Monday night. But the other 105s who are owned by people outside of the club won't have their A teams on their boats. They're just out for a fun race, and they want to use it as practice for their new people on the boat. So yeah, you'll see a lot of people, and then they all go to the Sloop Tavern Yacht Club afterwards for beer and stickers and prizes and things.
Fives. Yeah.
It's a good social group to be a part of.
Mhm.
Wednesday nights is, yeah, not as many boats. It's Corinthian Yacht Club, but it's more organized. They set out race marks. There's a professional paid race committee on there. The courses are square. They try and get more than one race in each night. Weather dependent. Sometimes we have 4 races in the middle of summer when we can race till 10 o'clock at night. So that's a lot more involved, a lot more competitive. Yeah.
We want to add something to the signing up for all 3 series and then being put on a team and then sticking with that team for all 3 series. There was a question in our Q&A last year, like, what if I don't get along with that team? Can I move to a different team or try it? Or what if I don't like that boat? That kind of thing. We are definitely open to making adjustments like that after every series. So if you're not feeling it or want to change something, we can absolutely do that.
One thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was what you do beyond racing at Seattle Sailing Club. And Jason Christensen, who he came back last year and joined us, he's now done his instructor qualifications. He's got a Coast Guard license, but he's also, he goes all over the country, and he's done some crossings to Hawaii. He does, he's like a tactician navigator on some boats, where he's the one with the computer and figures out the quickest way to go somewhere. He's a computer tech guy. He's currently in the Caribbean on a boat that's he's with a person who's going to be doing a solo round the world race next year. And so he's racing with him at the Caribbean 600. So they get familiar with each other, and he's helping to set the boat up to do an ocean race around the world. He started out doing 101 here in about 2014. And he raced on the club boat on Wednesdays and weekends for a couple of years. And now he's coming back to be a coach. So, and there's a few other, and then we've had Ron and Kristen, they're a couple that started out here. They brought a boat down from Canada to put in the club. And eventually they got another boat, and now, they went cruising, and they sailed down to Baja last year. So there are people who come into the program. It's like going to university. You get your skills. This is a great area to learn everything: tides, currents, weather patterns, the whole thing, and then take those skills. You can sail anywhere in the world, anywhere around the world, if you can learn to sail here.
All right, Chris asked a question. I don't think myself foul weather gear on the recommended equipment list. Should I assume I should invest in some? Yes, I would suggest doing that. Yep, I think Steve would too.
If you're doing the longer races,
Yeah.
I mean, Monday nights, early spring, you can get away with your skiing clothes a little bit, but yeah, after that, you really need, if you're going out and you're spending any time out on the water, you need to keep yourself warm and dry.
And then Terry asked, what is the cancellation policy if we sign up for 3 series and can't make the second or third? Might have an opportunity to cross the Atlantic in June. So if you sign up for all 3 series and you end up only being able to do 1, that's okay, because we have a lot of people, and we can definitely get coverage for those last 2 series. And I'll just go with this a little further. If that does happen, we will refund you for those 2 series that you're not going to make it. Just let us know ahead of time so that we can plan for it. And by ahead of time, like a few weeks would be ideal.
Some numbers last year, I checked the other day to see how many people actually got involved with the racing program on the spreadsheet, and there's 85 people on that list. We have 64 forms in already, and we're looking we'll probably beat that number this year. So we're pretty happy. So we need the information sooner rather than later, because it takes quite a bit of time to plan all this stuff out. So if you want to get in the first series and stuff, you need to at least let us know that, even if you can't commit to the later stuff. Yeah.
Justin asked, what do we get for winning? Well,
Big smile.
high five. The yacht clubs do different reward ceremonies too. And I believe that we are going to be planning our own internal award ceremony as well at the end of the season.
Ballot Cup on Mondays give little stickers. You might have seen them around, the little
Little
Hat.
books with hats on,
The hat,
little Viking
the
hats.
Viking hats for gold, silver, and bronze for second and third for each series.
Some people put them on their boats. I think there's some on some of our boats.
And some of the major regattas actually have proper trophies associated with them.
Some places give cups.
Sometimes it's just a hat with first, second, or third on it. Yeah. I want to talk about adventurous regattas and
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes. So we've had a few changes kind of to our some of the races here. We noticed last year we had a lot of interest in more of the member run weekend races. And so that introduced sort of a new idea to open those races to members more. And in addition to that, we participate in Adventurous Cup, which is a race that supports the Adventurous Sound Experience programs on the schooner out there that's on at the end of IDOC usually. And that's a really fun, it's a really laid back race. It's fun. It's like the goal is like that your team will fundraise for that program, and part of the race is, raising like the most money. And that's similar with Pink Boat Regatta, which is all the pros or benefits go to Seattle Cancer Care Alliance and the Breast Cancer Foundation. I think it's Breast Cancer Foundation. And that's also a really great race. We encourage people to decorate the boats in pink and however you want to decorate it, and head out for the race. It's a really fun time, and there's events leading up to the race. It's a really great thing. And then another one we do is the Trans Puget benefit race, which benefits Footloose sailing? Footloose sailing, yeah. Which is for disabled sailors or, yeah, disabled sailors. And then,
The other one's Blakely Rock.
oh yeah, but direct
I
benefit.
think it's the Sailing Foundation.
Yeah. And that one's in April. Yeah, so Blakely Rock is in April, Pink Bow Regatta is in September, Adventures Cup is in September, and Trans Puget, I believe, is in October or late September. Oh, Blakely Rock does Footloose also.
So, yeah, Blakely Rock benefit is focused.
Okay.
They change from year to year, so it's not always the same thing. And so part of that was that we actually reduced the fees a little bit on those races with the idea that that would free up so that you can donate to those causes separately from the race fees. We're not doing the donate. We'll set up the boat for the race, but you're responsible for the donation to the fundraising part to the organization.
Lorenzo asked, are we going to be sailing in the dark on Monday nights in April? The boats come back, they usually come back right before sunset or like as the sun is setting. They won't really run the races in the dark. It's not usual. They usually time them pretty well. Oh, they do fewer, right?
On Monday nights, there's a 2-hour time limit, so 8:30 is the cutoff time, no matter what. And if it's so that's why they have to wait until sunset goes after 8:30.
Yeah.
And if it's a little bit sooner than that, then they'll only set a shorter race course that can be finished in that time limit. One thing I will point out, I think this is important, particularly for member skippers, is that racing is by choice, and it is the skipper on the boat's responsibility to decide whether you're racing or not. Having said that, if it's blowing 30, we're not going to let you off the dock. But when you go out as a group, it's not our responsibility. It's the skipper's responsibility for managing the boat and deciding whether you race or not, whether you put up a spinnaker or not. I mean, even in conditions, we would say, yeah, it's okay, but if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Right. We're almost out of time here, so if there's any last minute things, any comments, questions?
And if you have any questions that come up afterwards, which often happens, feel free to email us. We'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for coming. The scheduling and organizing it's fun actually. Yeah, it's a good puzzle. Yeah, definitely. Exactly. Yeah. Let's go fly a kite. Awesome. Thank you.
Jelly flops, right?
Jelly bellies. Yeah. Mhm. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for coming.